He thought he had buried his past 12 years ago, but on a cold New York night, a little girl was about to place it back in his hands. Rain hammered the sidewalks of Manhattan with relentless force, turning the city into a maze of shimmering reflections and blurred lights. Black SUVs lined the curb outside the Grand Meridian Hotel as men in tailored suits scanned the street with practiced caution. In the center of them all walked Ethan Romano. At 38 years old, Ethan had become one of the most powerful men on the East Coast. People lowered their voices when they spoke his name. Rivals watched their backs when they crossed his path. He moved through the storm with the calm confidence of a man who had spent years controlling chaos instead of fearing it. The rain rolled off his charcoal overcoat as security guards formed a protective circle around him. No one approached Ethan Romano unless invited. No one dared. Then it happened. A small figure suddenly burst from between two parked cars. One of the bodyguards stepped forward instantly, but the child slipped past him with surprising speed. Before anyone could react, tiny hands grabbed the sleeve of Ethan's coat. The security team froze. Ethan stopped walking. The girl couldn't have been older than 8. Her dark curls were soaked from the rain. Her sneakers splashed in puddles as she struggled to catch her breath. Tears mixed with raindrops on her face. She looked terrified. "Please," she cried. "Please help my mom." The bodyguards immediately moved toward her. "Sir, step back," one of them said. Another reached for the child's shoulder. But the girl refused to let go. She clung to Ethan's coat with desperate determination, as if releasing it would mean losing her last chance in the world. Ethan lowered his gaze toward her. His expression remained unreadable. Years of power had taught him never to react too quickly. The city was filled with people who wanted something from him. Money, protection, revenge, favors. But something about the fear in this child's eyes felt different. Genuine. Raw. "What's your name?" Ethan asked quietly. The question surprised his security detail. The girl looked up. "Lily," she whispered. Her voice trembled. "Lily Carter." Ethan waited. Rain drummed against nearby awnings. Traffic hissed through wet streets. The city seemed to hold its breath. "What's wrong with your mother?" he asked. Lily swallowed hard. Her lower lip shook. Then she said something that made every word around them disappear. "Mom told me if something bad happened." She paused, struggling through tears. "To find the man with the dragon tattoo." Ethan's entire body went still. For the first time that night, something flickered behind his eyes. None of the guards understood the significance of those words. But Ethan did. Very few people knew about the dragon tattoo hidden beneath his shoulder. Even fewer knew what it had meant before he became the man standing here tonight. Lily reached into her pocket with trembling fingers and pulled out a folded photograph. The paper was worn and slightly damaged from the rain. She held it toward him. Ethan slowly took it. The moment he saw the face in the picture, the color drained from his expression. The woman staring back at him was someone he had not seen in 12 years. Someone he had believed was gone forever. Ava Carter. For several long seconds, Ethan Romano did not move. Rain continued to fall around him, but he barely noticed. The photograph felt heavier than paper should. Ava Carter stared back at him from another lifetime, her warm brown eyes unchanged despite the years that had passed. Memories he had buried beneath power, wealth, and reputation suddenly pushed their way to the surface. 12 years earlier, Ethan had been 26, unknown, struggling, and carrying more enemies than friends. Back then, he had not owned skyscrapers or commanded respect with a single glance. Back then, he had simply been a young man trying to survive. And during one of the darkest nights of his life, Ava Carter had shown him kindness when she had every reason to walk away. Ethan looked down at Lily. The resemblance was impossible to ignore now. The same eyes, the same determination hidden beneath fear, the same stubborn courage. His security team exchanged nervous glances. They had worked beside Ethan for years and knew something significant had happened. The problem was that none of them understood what. "Where is your mother?" Ethan asked. Lily wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her soaked jacket. "I do not know," she whispered. "She told me to run if she did not come home." Ethan's jaw tightened. "When was the last time you saw her?" "This afternoon." Her voice shook again. "She dropped me off at my neighbor's apartment after school." She looked scared. Ethan crouched slightly so he could meet her eyes. It was a gesture so unusual that even his closest bodyguard stared in disbelief. "What exactly did she say?" Lily took a shaky breath. She said if anything happened, I had to find the man with the dragon tattoo. She said he would know what to do. Ethan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. Ava had remembered. After all these years, she had remembered. More importantly, she had trusted him. That realization carried a weight Ethan had not expected. Trust was rare in his world. Trust that survived 12 years was almost impossible. One of his security officers stepped forward holding a tablet. Sir, we should leave. The route is secure. Ethan ignored him. His attention remained fixed on Lily. Did your mother leave anything else? Lily nodded. Slowly, she reached into the inside pocket of her jacket. The movement was careful, deliberate. She pulled out a small silver key attached to a faded blue ribbon. Rainwater glistened on the metal. Ethan stared at it. She told me not to give this to anyone except you, Lily said. Not the police. Not my teachers. Nobody. Ethan accepted the key. The blue ribbon instantly caught his attention. He recognized it. Years ago, Ava used to wear the same shade tied around her wrist during hospital shifts. The realization made his pulse quicken. This was not random. This was planned. Ava had prepared for something, which meant she had known trouble was coming. Ethan rose to his feet and slipped the key into his coat pocket. His expression hardened, but this time it was not the face of a crime boss protecting an empire. It was the face of a man protecting a promise. Then Lily said 6 words that made his blood run cold. Mom told me you saved us. The words hit Ethan harder than any threat ever could. For a moment, the sounds of the city seemed distant, drowned beneath memories he had spent more than a decade trying to forget. Lily stood before him, small and frightened, unaware that she had just unlocked a door to the past that Ethan had kept sealed for years. 12 years earlier, he had been sitting alone in a hospital waiting room just after midnight. His right arm had been wrapped in bandages. His clothes were worn. His bank account contained less than $40. He remembered staring at the floor tiles, exhausted and angry at the world. Everyone he trusted had disappeared. Everyone except one person. Ava Carter. She had been finishing a double shift at the hospital. She was younger then, her hair tied back beneath a navy blue cap, her tired eyes carrying the weight of someone who spent every day helping strangers. Ethan had expected her to walk past him. Instead, she sat beside him with a cup of coffee and asked if he was all right. Nobody had asked him that question in years. Not because they cared. Not because they wanted an honest answer. Ava had. For 3 weeks afterward, she checked on him whenever he returned for follow-up appointments. She never asked about his past, never judged him, never demanded explanations. She simply treated him like a human being when most people looked through him as if he did not exist. Ethan had never forgotten that. Back in the present, rain continued to fall around them. Lily stared up at him, waiting. What did your mother mean when she said I saved you? Ethan asked quietly. Lily shrugged. She never explained. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Every time I asked, she just smiled. Ethan looked away. Ava had always been like that. She protected people even when they did not deserve it. One of his senior security men stepped closer. Sir, our vehicles are ready. Ethan nodded once. Bring her with us. The bodyguard blinked. Sir. Ethan's expression hardened. That was not a suggestion. Within minutes, Lily sat inside the back seat of a black SUV wrapped in a warm blanket while the convoy moved through Manhattan. The city lights slid across the windows like rivers of gold. For the first time since finding Ethan, Lily looked slightly less afraid. She held a cup of hot chocolate with both hands. Ethan sat across from her, studying the silver key resting in his palm. Something about it bothered him. Ava had trusted him with this. She had trusted him enough to send her daughter directly to him. That meant she had believed danger was close. Much closer than anyone realized. Ethan pulled out his phone and made a call. The line connected immediately. I need everything on Ava Carter, he said. Current address, employment records, financial activity, security footage, everything. There was a brief pause. How far back? The voice asked. Ethan looked toward the rain-covered window. Start with the last 30 days. He ended the call and slipped the phone away. Across from him, Lily suddenly leaned forward. There is something else. Ethan met her eyes. What is it? Lily hesitated before speaking. The day before Mom disappeared, somebody left a note on our apartment door. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. What did the note say? Lily swallowed hard. It said, the truth cannot stay hidden forever. The interior of the SUV fell silent. Rain tapped softly against the windows as Manhattan drifted by in streaks of silver and gold. Ethan sat motionless, replaying Lily's words again and again. The truth cannot stay hidden forever. It did not sound like a random threat. It sounded personal. It sounded like somebody knew something about Ava. 20 minutes later, the convoy arrived at Ethan's private residence overlooking the Hudson River. The building rose nearly 60 stories above the city, wrapped in glass and steel. Security personnel opened doors before the vehicles even stopped moving. Yet Ethan barely noticed the familiar routine. His mind remained fixed on one question. What truth had Ava been hiding all these years? Lily followed him inside, clutching the blanket around her shoulders. The marble lobby felt enormous compared to her small apartment building in Brooklyn. She looked nervous but determined. Ethan guided her toward a private dining room where warm lights and a fireplace softened the atmosphere. A housekeeper quickly prepared food, but Lily only picked at a grilled cheese sandwich. Her eyes remained fixed on the doorway, as if she expected her mother to walk through it at any moment. Ethan understood that feeling better than she realized. 1 hour later, a member of his intelligence team entered carrying a tablet. The woman placed it on the table and spoke quietly. "We found Ava Carter." Ethan immediately stood. Lily's head snapped up. Hope flashed across her face. "Where is she?" Ethan asked. The analyst hesitated. "That is the problem. We found her records, her apartment, her employment history, and security footage from the last month. But after 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, she simply disappears." Ethan frowned. "People do not disappear." The analyst nodded nervously. "Normally they do not. But somebody erased portions of surveillance footage from 3 different locations. Whoever did it knew exactly what they were doing." Ethan's expression darkened. That meant planning, resources, experience. Someone had invested significant effort into hiding Ava's movements. The analyst swiped to another screen. "There is something else." A photograph appeared. It showed Ava leaving a community health clinic 2 days earlier. She looked worried. Beside her stood an older man wearing a gray coat. Ethan leaned closer. His eyes narrowed instantly. He recognized the man. "Who is he?" Lily asked. Nobody answered immediately. The room seemed to grow colder. Finally, Ethan spoke. "His name is Benjamin Cross." The analyst nodded. "Former financial investigator." Ethan's jaw tightened. Benjamin Cross had spent years uncovering corruption, fraud, and hidden money trails before retiring. He had a reputation for finding secrets that powerful people wanted buried. "Why would Mom know him?" Lily whispered. Ethan did not have an answer. The analyst swiped again. Another image appeared. This one showed Ava carrying a manila envelope. The timestamp placed it only hours before she vanished. "We enhanced the image," the analyst explained. "There is writing on the envelope." The screen zoomed closer. 3 words appeared clearly across the front. Ethan stared at them in disbelief. Lily looked confused. The room went completely silent. Written in black marker were the words, "For Ethan Romano." No one spoke for several seconds. The glowing tablet remained on the table while the words stared back at them like a message from another world. For Ethan Romano. Not for the police. Not for an attorney. Not for a reporter. For him. Ethan slowly sat down, his eyes never leaving the screen. 12 years of silence suddenly felt less like coincidence and more like a carefully guarded secret. Ava had been trying to reach him. The question was why. Lily looked from face to face. "What does it mean?" she asked softly. Ethan exhaled. "It means your mother wanted me to see something." The analyst tapped another file. "We tracked Benjamin Cross's movements for the past 6 months." A map appeared on the screen. Dots connected locations throughout New York City. Community centers, libraries, small coffee shops, public places where people could meet without attracting attention. Ava met him 7 times, the analyst said. Ethan frowned. 7. Confirmed 7. The room grew quiet again. Benjamin Cross did not meet people repeatedly without a reason. He was known for investigating patterns, not chasing rumors. If Ava had spent months speaking with him, she had been involved in something important. Ethan glanced toward the silver key resting beside his hand. Every new answer seemed to create 3 more questions. Then another member of the intelligence team entered carrying a folder. His expression was unusually tense. "Sir, we found the bank connected to the key." Ethan immediately stood. "Which bank?" "Liberty Trust." The man placed several documents on the table. Private Safety Deposit Division. Ethan picked up the papers. Liberty Trust catered to wealthy clients who valued privacy above everything else. The safety deposit boxes could only be opened by the registered owner or by someone carrying authorized credentials. Can we access it? Ethan asked. The analyst nodded. Possibly. Ava established special emergency instructions 3 years ago. Ethan's eyes narrowed. 3 years? Yes, sir. The analyst pointed toward a highlighted section. If she failed to appear for a specified period, the contents could be released to a designated individual. Lily leaned forward. Who? The analyst swallowed. You. Ethan felt his pulse quicken. The room seemed to shrink around him. 3 years ago. Ava had prepared this 3 years ago. Not days. Not weeks. Years. She had expected something might happen eventually, which meant whatever secret she was protecting had been following her for a very long time. Ethan walked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson River. The storm continued outside. Boats rocked gently beneath the city lights. Behind him, Lily quietly sipped her hot chocolate. She trusted him completely now. The responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders. He turned back toward the team. Get the car ready. The analysts exchanged glances. Tonight, one asked. Ethan's voice became cold and decisive. Right now. The analyst hesitated. The bank is closed. Ethan reached for his coat. Then they can open it. Lily stood as well. Hope flickered in her eyes for the first time all night. She believed they were finally getting closer to her mother. Ethan wanted to believe it too. But deep down, another feeling had begun to grow. A feeling he had not experienced in years. Fear. Because if Ava had gone to this much effort to protect whatever was inside that safety deposit box, then the truth waiting there might change everything. Liberty Trust Bank opened its private security entrance at 1:30 in the morning. The storm had weakened, but the streets still glistened beneath the city lights as Ethan's convoy arrived. Inside, a senior manager personally escorted them through silent hallways lined with polished marble and dark wood. Lily walked beside Ethan, clutching the blue blanket around her shoulders. She looked exhausted, yet she refused to stay behind. Every step felt like it carried her closer to her mother. At the end of a secured corridor stood a steel door leading to the vault. The manager entered several codes before stepping aside. Box 417, he said quietly. Registered to Ava Carter. Ethan removed the silver key from his coat pocket. For a brief moment, he simply stared at it. Ava had planned this years ago. Whatever waited inside had survived 3 years of preparation and 12 years of silence. The lock clicked open. The manager withdrew respectfully. Ethan pulled the box from its compartment and carried it to a private room nearby. Lily sat across from him while several trusted advisors remained by the door. Nobody spoke. Slowly, Ethan lifted the lid. Inside was no cash, no jewelry, no valuable property. Instead, there was a thick manila envelope, a flash drive, several photographs, and a leather-bound journal. Ethan picked up the envelope first. His name was written across the front in Ava's unmistakable handwriting. His hands tightened slightly. Then he opened it. A folded letter rested inside. The paper showed signs of age. She had written it years earlier. Ethan began reading silently. As his eyes moved across the page, his expression changed. The confidence that usually defined him slowly gave way to something else. Surprise. Confusion. Regret. Lily watched nervously. What does it say? She asked. Ethan did not answer immediately. His eyes remained fixed on the letter. Finally, he looked up. Your mother believed someone was watching her. The room grew still. Ethan continued reading. Ava described unusual phone calls, strangers appearing near her workplace, and anonymous messages that began years earlier. At first she dismissed them. Then they became more frequent, more specific. She wrote that Benjamin Cross had agreed to help investigate. Together, they discovered a hidden financial network connected to powerful individuals across several states. People with influence. People with resources. People who did not want attention. Ethan placed the letter down and reached for the flash drive. One of his analysts connected it to a secure laptop. Files immediately filled the screen. Documents. Account records. Photographs. Correspondence. The amount of information was staggering. Benjamin Cross had clearly spent years collecting evidence. Then the analyst suddenly froze. Sir. Ethan looked up. The analyst pointed toward a specific file. You need to see this. A photograph appeared on the screen. It had been taken 13 years earlier. Ethan immediately recognized himself. He looked younger, thinner, almost unrecognizable. Standing beside him was Ava. Both were smiling. Lily leaned closer. "That is Mom." Ethan nodded slowly. Then the analyst opened the next file. The room fell silent. It was a birth certificate. The date matched Lily's age exactly. Ethan's heartbeat quickened. His eyes moved to the line identifying the father. For a moment, nobody breathed. Then Ethan read the name written there. His own. The room seemed to tilt beneath Ethan Romano's feet. He read the birth certificate again, then a third time, searching for some mistake hidden between the lines. There was none. The date was correct. The signatures were legitimate. The document had been filed properly more than 8 years earlier. Across the table, Lily stared at him with wide, uncertain eyes. She did not understand why everyone had suddenly gone silent. Ethan slowly lowered the paper. For years he had built an empire, accumulated wealth, commanded loyalty, and controlled outcomes. Yet nothing in his life had prepared him for this moment. 1,000 memories rushed through his mind. Ava's smile in the hospital cafeteria. The long conversations they shared after midnight. The promises they never quite spoke aloud. Then her sudden disappearance. Back then, Ethan had searched for months. When every lead failed, he convinced himself she had chosen a different life. Now he realized how wrong he had been. Ava had not abandoned him. She had been protecting something. Protecting someone. Lily shifted nervously in her chair. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked quietly. The question struck Ethan harder than any revelation. He immediately shook his head. "No." His voice sounded different now. Softer. More careful. "You did nothing wrong." Lily looked down at her hands. "Then why does everyone look worried?" Ethan glanced toward the birth certificate resting on the table. He was not ready to explain. Not yet. Too many questions remained unanswered. More importantly, Ava was still missing. The answers could wait. Finding her could not. One of the analysts suddenly spoke. "Sir, there is another file." The laptop screen displayed a recently uploaded document hidden inside the flash drive. The timestamp showed it had been added only 4 days earlier. Ethan moved closer. The file opened. It was a video recording. Ava appeared on the screen. Lily immediately gasped. "Mom." Her voice cracked with emotion. Ava sat in a small room facing the camera. She looked tired but calm. Behind her hung a plain beige wall. There were no clues revealing her location. Ethan felt his chest tighten as he watched her. Even after 12 years, seeing her face stirred emotions he thought had died long ago. Ava looked directly into the camera. "If you are watching this, something has gone wrong." The room became completely silent. "Ethan, there are things I should have told you years ago. I wanted to. More times than you can imagine. But every time I tried, somebody reminded me why I could not." Ethan's jaw tightened. Ava continued speaking. "The people Benjamin Cross investigated are afraid of one thing. Exposure. That is why they spent years following financial trails, hidden accounts, and secret partnerships. Benjamin discovered evidence powerful enough to destroy careers and reputations." The video paused briefly before continuing. Ava looked exhausted now. "If I disappear, do not waste time looking backward. Look at the last place Benjamin visited." Ethan exchanged a glance with his analysts. Immediately, fingers began moving across keyboards. Databases opened. Travel records appeared. Location histories loaded. Within seconds, one analyst froze. "Sir." Ethan turned. "What is it?" The analyst swallowed hard. "We found Benjamin Cross's final recorded location." Ethan stared at the screen. The address appeared beneath a photograph. The moment he recognized the building, the color drained from his face. Because the location was not connected to Benjamin Cross. It was connected to Ethan himself. The address on the screen belonged to a building Ethan knew better than almost anyone. It was an abandoned shipping office on the Brooklyn waterfront, purchased years ago through a holding company and quietly maintained as a storage property. Almost nobody knew it existed. Almost nobody should have been able to connect it to him. Yet Benjamin Cross had gone there only 3 days before disappearing from public records. The realization sent a chill through Ethan's entire body. Someone had been following the same trail Benjamin uncovered. Someone who knew pieces of Ethan's past that were supposed to remain hidden. The analysts immediately began searching through archived records. Property transactions, visitor logs, security reports. Everything connected to the waterfront building appeared on screens throughout the room. Lily sat quietly beside Ethan, clutching the edge of her blanket. She could sense the tension growing even if she did not fully understand it. "Is my mom there?" she asked softly. Ethan looked at her and wished he had an answer. "I do not know," he admitted. "But we are getting closer." Lily nodded. Somehow she trusted him completely. The trust felt undeserved and yet impossible to ignore. Ethan turned back toward the screens. "Pull every camera feed within a half-mile radius of that property." Fingers moved across keyboards. Seconds later, dozens of video clips appeared. Delivery trucks, pedestrians, traffic lights, rain-covered sidewalks, hours of ordinary city activity. Then one analyst suddenly leaned forward. "Wait." The room fell silent. The footage froze on a single frame. Ethan stepped closer. A woman wearing a dark coat was exiting a taxi less than 2 blocks from the warehouse. Even through the grainy image, he recognized her immediately. "Ava." Lily jumped from her chair. "That is Mom." Hope filled her voice. Ethan felt his pulse quicken. The timestamp showed the footage had been recorded less than 48 hours earlier. Ava had been alive. She had been moving freely. More importantly, she had gone to the waterfront voluntarily. The analyst enlarged the image. Ava was carrying something beneath her arm. A folder. Ethan recognized it instantly. It matched the type Benjamin Cross used to organize investigative files. Another clip appeared from a nearby camera. Ava crossed the street and disappeared toward the old shipping office. Then nothing. No footage of her leaving. No additional sightings. Just silence. Ethan stared at the screen. His instincts told him Ava had found something important. Something connected to Benjamin's investigation. Something worth risking everything to protect. Then another analyst spoke from across the room. "Sir, there is one more thing." Ethan turned. The analyst opened a financial document recovered from the flash drive. Several names appeared on the screen. Most meant nothing to Ethan, but one name immediately caught his attention. His expression hardened, because the name belonged to someone inside his own organization. Someone he had trusted for years. Someone who had been standing beside him through business deals, family gatherings, and private meetings. Someone who should never have appeared anywhere near Benjamin Cross's investigation. Ethan slowly read the name again. The room became completely silent. For the first time that night, he realized the danger might not be outside his world. It might already be inside it. The name on the screen belonged to Victor Hale, Ethan's chief financial advisor for nearly a decade. The discovery stunned everyone in the room. Victor had managed charitable foundations, investment portfolios, and countless public projects connected to Ethan's organization. He had attended holiday dinners. He had known trusted friends. He had even met Lily once years earlier without realizing who she was. Ethan stared at the screen, replaying every conversation he had ever had with the man. Suddenly, details that once seemed meaningless began fitting together. Delayed reports, missing records, questions Victor always redirected. Across the room, analysts continued searching through Benjamin Cross's files. One document after another revealed the same pattern. Hidden accounts, shell companies, transfers disguised as charitable donations. Benjamin had not been investigating Ethan. He had been investigating Victor. Ava had discovered the truth while helping Benjamin organize evidence. That was why she had become a target of attention, not because she had done anything wrong, but because she knew too much. Ethan immediately ordered a secure team to search the Brooklyn property connected to the investigation. Within an hour, they found exactly what Benjamin had hoped someone would discover. Locked inside a hidden office were copies of financial records, witness statements, and a handwritten note from Benjamin himself. The note explained everything. He had uncovered a network of corruption operated by people who abused positions of trust for personal gain. Victor Hale had secretly coordinated many of the transactions. Benjamin had planned to release the evidence publicly, but before he could finish, he realized Ava might be placed in danger. Together, they created the safety deposit box and contingency plan. Ava had insisted on one condition. If anything happened to her, Lily had to be protected first. Ethan lowered the note and closed his eyes. Even facing fear, Ava's first thought had been her daughter. At that moment, another message arrived. Security cameras from a community center in Queens had captured Ava entering the building earlier that evening. Staff members quickly confirmed she had been there voluntarily. When Ethan arrived less than an hour later, he found her sitting quietly in an empty office beside the director of the center. The moment Lily saw her mother, She ran across the room. Ava dropped to her knees and wrapped her daughter in her arms. Tears filled both of their eyes. Neither wanted to let go. Ethan stood several feet away, unable to speak. Ava slowly looked up at him. 12 years disappeared in a single glance. There was sadness there, regret, relief, but there was also gratitude. You found her, Ava whispered. Ethan shook his head. No, she found me. Lily looked between them, confused but smiling. Ava reached into her purse and pulled out one final letter. I was going to tell you everything, she said. I just ran out of time. Ethan accepted the letter but never opened it. He already knew the truth that mattered most. Lily was safe. Ava was safe. And for the first time in years, the future felt more important than the past. As dawn broke over New York City, golden light filled the room. Lily stood between them holding both of their hands. And on that morning, the most powerful man in the city learned that the greatest thing he could protect was not an empire. It was a family.